Hello, and welcome back to yet another video. This is the 26th episode in a Naruto Uzumaki story in which a few little changes might have a significant impact. Knowledge provided early in Naruto's career converted him from a hopeless loser to a powerful and skilled shinobi. Historical differences that have long ago passed have resulted in a totally different consequence than we imagined. After you've finished watching, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. To begin, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get the party started. Naruto's first stop was not the gates of Konoha. It was the Higurashi weapons shop. Tenten was there when he arrived, standing behind the counter, a bored look on her face. Naruto went right up to her. She noticed him and looked up, wearing a smile, though her bright expression soon shifted into a frown. "What's wrong, Naruto? I need you to come with me on a mission. You up for it?" "What kind of mission?" "The S-class kind." Tenten paused, studied him further, and then said, "Let me grab my scrolls." Naruto didn't say anything as Tenten hopped over the counter, rushed up the stairs, and came back several moments later with a large scroll strapped across her back. Naruto didn't ask questions. He told Tenten to follow him, Kakashi, and Sakura before leaving the shop and traveling toward the south gate. While they were heading to the gate, Naruto gave Tenten the lowdown. He told her that the Hokage had been kidnapped by the Akatsuki, how their job was to travel to Suna, get as much information as they could, and help Suna with whatever they needed. He made his explanation as short as possible since they were running low on time. "This sounds like a tough mission," Tenten said. "We're up against an S-class ninja," Sakura said. "Tough is understating things a little. I'm sure we'll be alright," Kakashi said, except he wasn't reading his book, which meant even he understood the gravity of this mission. At the front of the gate stood Jiraiya. The S-class, cage-level ninja had his arms crossed and a scroll on his back. He looked like he was going somewhere, and knowing him, Naruto understood that Jiraiya was probably leaving to gather information on Akatsuki. "Uro-sennin," Naruto greeted the man, whose lion's mane of white hair rustling in the breeze. He wore his usual outfit and Geta sandals. However, the expression on his face was not one that Naruto was used to seeing. "I'm not going to stop you from going on this mission," Jiraiya said. "You're ready for this. It's what I've trained you for. However, I'm going to tell you to be careful. We still don't know which members of Akatsuki kidnapped the Hokage. For all we know, they could be the worst matchup for you, so be sure to stay on your toes and don't underestimate them." "You don't have to worry about that, Sensei," Naruto said. "I'm not alone on this mission." Jiraiya looked at Kakashi, Tenten, and Sakura. While Kakashi was dressed for an A-class mission, with a ninja pouch that was filled with ninja weapons like shuriken, kunai, and ninja wire, Sakura was only wearing her medical pouch. That said, she was a medical ninja, so the medical pouch at her side was all she really needed. "I suppose that's true. Still, be careful." "I will." Jiraiya placed his hands on Naruto's shoulder and gave him a confident smile. "You've grown a lot stronger. Go out there and do what you have to." "Will do." Removing his hands, Jiraiya walked up to Kakashi. Meanwhile, Tsunade and Iruka walked up to the gate from the direction of the Hokage tower. Neither of them said anything. Naruto assumed they had merely come to see them off. This mission would be dangerous. S-class missions were given that designation because the chances of death were practically guaranteed. The S stood for suicidal, as in, you probably had a death wish for taking them. It was the same with ninja rankings. S-ranked ninja were S-ranked because anyone else who wasn't also considered S-ranked had to be suicidal to go up against them. Akatsuki was a group made up of only S-ranked ninja. Any mission involving them was automatically bumped up to S-class. Of course, considering they were going to face at least 2 S-ranked ninja, this mission was even more dangerous than a regular S-class, but there was no designation above S. "I'm leaving Naruto in your hands, Kakashi," Jiraiya said. Naruto's ears twitched. He's gotten a lot stronger, but he's still rough around the edges. He doesn't have the same experience that you do, so I want you to help him grow any way you can. Kakashi smiled at Jiraiya. "Don't worry. I'll do everything in my power to help out." "Good. I'm counting on you." "Sakura," Tsunade said, getting the pinkhead's attention. "Take care of yourself on this mission. I've trained you well, but S-ranked ninja are not people that you can underestimate." "I know, Tsunade-sama." Sakura smiled as she tightened her gloves. "I'm not going to underestimate anyone. Besides, I've got Naruto and Kakashi-sensei with me." "You know, I somehow feel like I've been forgotten," Tenten muttered. "I didn't forget you," Naruto said. Tenten smiled at him. "Thanks. Are you two ready?" Naruto called out to Kakashi and Sakura. "We need to get going. The longer we stay here, the more likely we'll be unable to rescue Gaara." "We're coming," Sakura said, running over to Naruto and Tenten. Kakashi traveled at a more sedate pace, but even he had a sense of hurriedness to him. "Alright," Naruto began, "let's go. Make sure you keep up. We're running hard." Naruto didn't wait for them to respond before he took off at a swift run, forcing the others to run with him. Suna was at least 10 days away if they walked. It was 546 kilometers away. He wanted to make it in only 2, which meant they needed to move at a hellacious pace of at least 75 kilometers per hour. Kakashi, Sakura, and Tenten were able to keep up with him at the pace he set, though that wasn't so surprising. Kakashi was an elite Jonin, Sakura had been trained by Tsunade, and Tenten was on the same team as Might Ogai and Rock Lee. They kept moving. As they closed the distance between Konoha and Suna, trees passing by them in a blur, Naruto saw someone coming up in the distance, walking at a sedate pace. He recognized them by their 4 ponytails. Temari. As she stopped walking, Temari turned her head just as Naruto and the others stopped in front of her. Her lips twitched as though about to smile. She stopped about halfway. The lips moved into a frown. "Naruto?" she asked, looking at the others before focusing on him again. "What are you doing here? I'm guessing you haven't heard yet," Naruto began. "Gaara has been kidnapped by the Akatsuki." "What?" Naruto could understand Temari's shock, but more than shock, his friend's pale face showed a clear sign of worry and fear. That, too, was understandable. "We're heading to Suna now," Naruto said. "Come with us." Temari didn't say anything, though she did signify that she would be coming with them, and they set off once again at their ridiculous pace. They ran and ran and ran, and they didn't stop running until night had fallen and the stars came out. Even then Naruto wanted to run more. However, he also understood that they couldn't. It was important that they be well rested upon arriving in Suna. "We'll camp out here for the night," Naruto said, choosing a clearing that was a little ways off from the main road to Suna. "I'll prepare a fire," Sakura said. "I'll catch some food," Tenten offered before wandering off. "In that case, I'll secure the perimeter," Kakashi said. As the 3 wandered into the forest to gather what they needed or make sure they were safe, Naruto and Temari stood together in the clearing. The silence was stifling. Naruto wanted to say something to reassure Temari, but really, there wasn't anything that he could say. Her brother had been kidnapped. No one knew what the Akatsuki would do with Gaara, but considering they were after the Baijuju inside of his stomach, it couldn't be anything good. "Naruto," Temari said softly, "what's going to happen to my brother?" "I won't tell you not to worry," Naruto said. "Fuck, I'm worried." "But Temari." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'm going to do everything within my power to save Gaara. You can count on it." Temari looked at Naruto, eyes wide and glossy as though filled with tears that she refused to let spill out. Naruto didn't know how well he did, but he tried to infuse confidence into his stare, tried to tell her that he would rescue Gaara no matter the cost with just his eyes. Temari might not have understood. However, she clearly saw something. "Naruto." She walked into his chest. Naruto wrapped his arms around her in a comforting hug. Right now, this was all that he could do for her. Zox catching food was a simple matter for Tenten. With her skills at throwing weapons, all she needed to do was wait around for an animal, fish or rabbit, and then toss a kunai at them. Whenever she was on a mission with Team Guy, she was always the one who caught the food. Tenten narrowed her eyes as she stood next to the river, watching, waiting. Her eyes narrowed as she stared at the flowing waters. 1, 2, 3. A fish suddenly sprang up from the surface. Tenten tossed a kunai, which struck the fish, continued on, and hit a tree, pinning the fish to the tree. She did this 6 more times. This should be enough. Stringing the fish up with some ninja wire, Tenten slung the fish over her shoulder and made her way back to the camping ground. She stopped upon noticing Naruto and Temari embracing. Heart racing, Tenten hid behind a tree. She pressed her back against the bark, squeezed her eyes shut, and prayed that what she had seen was just an illusion. Tenten opened her eyes and peeked out from behind the tree again. She went back to hiding. Nope. It wasn't an illusion. Naruto and Temari were definitely embracing. She looked back out from behind the tree, at Naruto and Temari as they stood in each other's arms, holding one another as though their lives depended on it. As she stared at them, her mind raced with questions. When had these two gotten so close? Were they seeing each other? How could this have happened? As she continued staring at Naruto and Temari, footsteps appeared behind her. "Tenten," Sakura said, "I've got the firewood, So we can start cooking those. Sakura couldn't say anything more as Tenten clamped a hand over her mouth and pulled her behind the tree. She pressed the other girls back against the trunk, looked out from behind the tree again to make sure Naruto and Temari hadn't seen them, and then went back to Sakura. "Be quiet," she shushed the girl, who had begun to squirm. Sakura quieted down and pulled Tenten's hand off her mouth. "What's going on?" "Temari and Naruto are holding each other," Tenten whispered. She looked back at Naruto and Temari. They were still embracing. How long were they planning to do that? When did they get so close? What is going on here? Sakura hesitated before, in a hesitant voice, saying, "You mean you don't know?" "Know what?" asked Tenten. Sakura sighed before explaining what she had seen 2 mornings ago at Naruto's apartment. Tenten felt like an anvil had been dropped onto her chest. Zox Tenten had been abnormally quiet for the entire night. During dinner, when everyone went to bed, and even that morning, she never said a single word to Naruto. That said, she did talk to Sakura and Kakashi. It seemed the only people she wouldn't talk to was him and Temari. Naruto would have asked her about whatever was bothering her, but they didn't have time. Gaara was waiting. After a breakfast of grilled rabbit, Naruto once more set them off at a grueling pace that had Sakura huffing and puffing after 5 hours of travel. And Naruto. "Slow down." "I'm sorry, Sakura, but we can't slow down." They weren't running this time. Naruto, Kakashi, Tenten, Temari, and Sakura leapt through the trees, moving more swiftly this way than they ever could by running. Naruto led them from the front, Kakashi and Temari on either side, while Tenten and Sakura took up the rear. Sakura was trailing behind all of them. She might have had Tsunade's strength, but that didn't mean she had the same endurance as the others. Her focus had been medicine and healing, not long-distance travel. But if we keep going like this, then surely... "You don't get it, Sakura," Naruto interrupted. "Gaara's been taken by those Akatsuki assholes. If we don't get there soon, there's no telling what they'll do to him. They're after the Shukaku that's been sealed inside of him, just like they're after me for the Kyuubi. You know that, don't you? That Gaara and I are both Jinchuriki?" Sakura looked away, head turning down, eyes narrowing in sorrow. So she did know. Naruto wasn't surprised. As Tsunade's apprentice, it was obvious to him that she would have told Sakura about this at some point. It made even more sense because she was his teammate. She couldn't afford not to know, and it was better to tell her now when they still could, than let the information come out when Akatsuki began going after them. No more words were spoken as they traveled through the trees. Hours later, the trees cleared before them as their eyes were met with a vast desert that was in the middle of a sandstorm. "Damn it!" Naruto swore, unable to quite contain his anger. He took a deep breath, sighed, and then went over to the nearest tree at the edge of the desert, crossed his arms, and leaned against it. "You all might as well sit down. There's not much we can do with this sandstorm. We'll have to wait until it clears." "Sandstorms are incredibly dangerous," Temari agreed as she walked over to the same tree. "Even we sand ninja don't wander through the desert when a sandstorm is brewing. I've heard of travelers dying out in the desert after trying to brave one. They cause people to lose their sense of direction, and some sandstorms have winds that are strong enough to flay the flesh from your bones." Kakashi, Sakura, and Tenten looked at each other, and then slowly wandered over to Naruto and Temari. It did not escape Naruto's notice that Tenten stood as far from him and Temari as soon as possible. The storm did not let up for the entire day. That meant they had lost a full 24 hours in reaching Suna. Naruto would have lamented this if they had time for lamentations, but as things stood, time was something they were in severe lack of. It took a full 2 days to travel from Edge of Fire Country to Suna, not because of the distance, but because they couldn't travel as quickly through the desert. The arid landscape and heat made fast travel impossible. Hydration was the key to traveling through the desert, which meant they had to take breaks to rehydrate, and of course, the desert stretched out for enough kilometers that there was no way they could have traversed it in a single day. When they arrived at Suna, the bowl-shaped walls of the village rose in the distance. They moved closer and the details of the village walls were revealed. The walls greatly reminded Naruto of large stairs. A gap soon became visible through one part of those stair-like walls, the entrance to Suna. 2 people were standing in front of the entrance. Shinobi dressed in Suna's traditional ninja garb. The pair looked in their direction as they appeared on the horizon. "We've been waiting for you," the one on the left said before noticing Temari as part of the group. "Lady Temari, I hadn't realized you were coming with them. We met on the way here," Temari said. "What's the situation?" "Follow me," one of them said. The 2 ninja rushed off into Suna, and they had no choice other than to follow them. Along the way, one of the shinobi told them something shocking. "What?" Tamari almost screamed. They got Kankuro, too? Yes, when the enemy took the Kazekage, Kankuro went after them himself. He was poisoned. We've done everything we can, but we haven't been able to find a cure for him. The situation was looking grimmer by the second. Gaara was kidnapped. Kankuro was poisoned. Naruto could scarcely imagine what kind of terrifying situations would crop up next. It seemed as if each second caused more problems to escalate the already tenuous situation. Naruto's feet tapped against the white tiles as they ran through the hospital on their way to see Kankuro, who was in critical condition. As they entered the room, he looked around. It was mostly empty, but there was a large bed in the center, and several people were standing around the bed. He didn't recognize any of them. There was a man with only one eye visible, the other covered with a cloth that hung down his face, an old woman, and an old man. "Kankuro," Tamari shouted as she rushed into the room. Sakura rushed ahead of him and Kakashi. Tenten hung back. As they all entered, the old woman looked up and at them, her eyes suddenly widening as though she had seen a ghost. "It's you!" Rage echoed from her voice as she rushed toward them in a burst of speed. "White Fang of Konoha. Prepare to die." Naruto was shocked, but not shocked enough that he couldn't respond. He rushed ahead of Kakashi and met the woman head-on. He blocked her fist, catching it in the palm of his hand, withholding his wince as he realized that this hag was stronger than she looked. The old woman tried to kick him when she realized her punch had failed, but Naruto let go of her hand and leapt back. "This hag might be old, but she's pretty good. Who the hell is she?" "Hey! Who the hell do you think you are, Granny?" asked Naruto. He was ignored. "White Fang of Konoha," the woman shouted as she pointed at Kakashi. "Do not think I have forgotten what you did to my son. I shall finally take my revenge on you." A tense atmosphere hung in the air as Naruto, wondering what this hag's malfunction was, glared at her, while the old woman herself glared at Kakashi. This moment probably would have continued for some time. Fortunately, the old man stepped in front of the old woman and held up a hand. "Hold on, Chiho," the old man said. "Take a closer look at him. It's true that there is a resemblance, but this man is clearly not the White Fang. Besides, as you know, the White Fang died a long time ago. Remember? When you heard the news, you wept in frustration because it meant you could no longer have your vengeance." As the old man spoke, the old lady, Chiho, stared at Kakashi, who wore a nervous expression as he waved at the woman. As the tension rose, reaching a peak, Chiho's expression finally cleared. "Oh, well, never mind. Ah ha 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 ha." As Chiho laughed, Naruto could do nothing but gawk at her. Kakashi, on the other hand, looked like someone had slapped him in the face with a dead fish. Even the others looked like they didn't know how to respond. What the hell was this woman laughing about? Had she gone senile? The moment was interrupted when Kankuro gasped and started grabbing at his throat. Sakura was the first to respond, moving over to the table as she tied her hair back into a ponytail. She looked at Kankuro. Then she looked at the others. "Let me take a look at him," she said. "Also, it might help if you all clear out of the room." "You've got it, Sakura," Naruto said. He turned around and began heading back outside. Kakashi and Tenten followed him. After a few moments of hesitation, Chiho and the old man also followed him. Tamari did not follow for several minutes, but when the man with half his face hidden by a cloth placed a hand on her shoulder, she took the hint and moved back outside. Naruto sat on the bench along with Chiho and the old man. While Kakashi and Tenten remained standing, Tamari sat right next to him, close enough that their thighs were touching. Without even looking away from the door, which remained open to let them see what Sakura was doing, her hand sought out his and grabbed it in a fierce grip. Naruto squeezed back. Inside of the medical room, Sakura was checking over Kankuro, peeling his eyelids back and flashing light into his pupils, opening his mouth and sticking her fingers in to get saliva samples. She also checked his pulse and heartbeat. Naruto had no idea what she was doing. He wasn't a medical ninja. However, her every move was done with a professionalism that Naruto would never have thought Sakura capable of. "We're dealing with a metal-based toxin," Sakura said at last. "The kind that attacks muscle tissue, destroying the cell's integrity." The two medical ninja from Suna, who were still in the chamber with her, looked shocked. "You got all that? From just one look?" Sakura nodded. "May I see his medical charts?" "Of course," one of them said, grabbing the charts and handing them off to her. "Here it is. We were getting a breakdown of the poison, but there are still quite a few blanks." Sakura looked at the chart, talking all the while as though speaking to herself. "I already know what's going to happen. His carotid artery will collapse. causing the entire heart to cease functioning. Given how insidious this poison is, it's doubtful we'll be able to create an antidote in time. What? Temari shouted, standing up. Are you saying there's nothing we can do? Sakura turned her head to look at her, and then she looked at the two medical ninja. There might be a way to save him. I'm gonna need a few things. This method will be crude, but it's really the only one I can think of that might work. Watching from a distance, Naruto had no idea what her plan was, but as the two medical ninja from Suna ran off and came back with several bowls filled with something, he knew there was nothing he could do and closed his eyes. He would use this chance to rest. Temari, Sakura called. Come in here. I'll need yours and Baki's help in holding Kankuro down. This next part is going to be difficult for Kankuro. Got it. Temari let go of his hand and walked into the room with the man whose face was half covered in cloth. Naruto closed his eyes again, though not before noticing that Tenten was staring at him. He didn't open his eyes. However, he did say, "Something wrong, Tenten? You and Temari?" She began before hesitating. "No. Never mind," Naruto sighed as he wondered if perhaps Tenten wanted to ask about his relationship with Temari. Anyone would be curious, but then, she shouldn't have an inkling about their relationship, and it wasn't like he and Temari were dating or engaged. At most, they were sex partners. They provided each other comfort and a warm body at night. That was all Naruto could offer. Time slipped by. Naruto didn't know how much of it passed because he was asleep, but he came to when Sakura suddenly announced that she was finished. He opened his eyes with a slight start, looked around, and then stood up and walked into the room. Temari had slid down against the wall, her feet splayed out as she took several deep breaths, sweat beading her forehead. The relief on her face could not be masked. Naruto shifted his gaze to Kankuro, who no longer looked like he was suffering, and then he looked at Sakura, whose composed expression impressed him. It seems I'm not the only one who grew up. You remind me of the old slug princess, Chiho suddenly said to Sakura. Naruto had no idea when she had snuck up on them, but he didn't pay much attention. Well, I am her apprentice, Sakura admitted. And it was by her orders that I come here. The old lady said nothing. It was the old man, who Naruto could only assume was her brother, who spoke. It seems that time has passed us by. Everything that we once knew and took as fact are being flipped on its head. Perhaps it's a sign that our generation truly has ended and made way for a new one. Once again, the old lady said nothing. It was nearly half an hour after Sakura had saved Kankuro's life, though that didn't mean the danger had passed, or that their tasks were done. While Sakura gave instructions to the medical ninja, Naruto, Kakashi, and Tenten stood with Baki outside of the room. We can't thank you enough for saving Kankuro, Baki said. Think nothing of it, Kakashi replied. We're allies, so it's only natural that we would do everything in our power to help. Besides, Naruto added, Kankuro and Gaara are friends. There's no way I'd let them die if there was something I could do. Anyway, could you tell us more about the current situation? Of course. Baki shifted his attention from Kakashi to Naruto. After the Akatsuki kidnapped Gaara, Kankuro tried to go after them by himself. You can see the results. We also sent a pursuit squad after them, but we have yet to hear back. I assume they are dead. Also, there is another problem. Captain Yura, one of our advisors on the council, has gone missing. We don't know whether he is dead or alive. Naruto placed a hand against his face, pressing his palm into his left eye as he slowly went over what Baki had said. He looked back into the room. Sakura was still talking to the medical ninja. Chiho was watching her. Meanwhile, Temari was still with her brother, holding his hand as she did everything she could to support him. So, basically, we have no leads as to where they might have gone. Naruto didn't want to bring attention to Suna's failure, especially since it wouldn't help. The Akatsuki were troublesome foes that even Jiraiya had trouble finding information on. It was stupid to expect Suna to be capable of tracking them, but it also didn't change how their Kazekage had been kidnapped and they failed to track them. Yes. Baki looked down. We've failed to follow them. Lord Baki. Naruto, Kakashi, Tenten, and Baki turned to the medical ninja who had called out to him. The man gestured toward the medical table. Kankuro was still lying on it. Kankuro has regained consciousness. Everyone came up to the table, which looked more like a bed, though they kept their distance to give Kankuro breathing room. The young man looked a lot different without his makeup. Naruto thought he might actually be able to get a girl if he stopped wearing makeup. Of course, right then there were bags under his eyes, his skin was pasty and pale, and he looked like a man who had barely avoided death. Kankuro, Temari said. Are you alright? Kankuro's eyes wandered around for a moment before fixing on his sister. Temari, you're back already? I heard the village was in trouble. I'm sorry to be such a bother. Don't be ridiculous. You're not a bother at all. Kakashi, Naruto said. Right. Kakashi looked at Baki. Do you think someone can take me to the site where Kankuro battled against Akatsuki? When Baki gave him a bemused look, he said, I'm known for having a pretty good nose. If there's even a small trace of their scent, I can track their location. There's no need for that, Kankuro murmured. He grunted and groaned, his muscles straining as he slowly pushed himself into a sitting position. Where are my puppets? I assume that my puppets were recovered, right? We did recover them, Baki said. He looked at one of the medical ninja, who got the hint, rushed out of the room, and came back minutes later with the remains of Kankuro's puppets. He laid them on a blue sheet beside the bed. One of them fought with me, while the other carried Gaara away, Kankuro said. You might be able to follow Gaara's scent, but you can definitely track the one I fought. I made sure of it. You see, I've got his scent right here. Kankuro raised a hand and twitched his fingers. The closed hand of his puppet suddenly opened, revealing a piece of cloth. The last thing I did before falling unconscious was make sure I had a scrap of his clothing. You went up against an S-rank ninja and not only survived but made sure you had something that could be used to track him, Naruto said as Kakashi knelt beside the puppet and grabbed the cloth. That's exactly what I'd expect from a Suna shinobi. You guys are tenacious. Hey, Kankuro chuckled. That's quite the praise coming from a stubborn bastard like you. Urk. Kankuro, Temari cried out. Are you okay? I'm fine, Temari. Kankuro grimaced as he held a hand to his chest, as though the phantom pains from the poison was getting to him. He looked around, blinking several times, eyes glassy, before they landed on Naruto. Is that you, Naruto? Hey, makeup man, Naruto greeted him with a friendly smile. You look like shit. I can see why you wear makeup now. Hey! Still the Joker, I see, Kankuro said, too tired to argue back. Kakashi went through several hand seals as Naruto spoke, and then slammed his hands into the ground and shouted, Kushios no Jutsu. Seals appeared along the ground before smoke exploded everywhere. When it cleared, there were 8 dogs ranging in size, shape, and breed, standing together. Hey, Kakashi, a small pug sitting on the head of a large, black-furred bulldog. The 8 ninja dogs are here to assist you. Kakashi knelt before the dogs and held out his hand, palm up, with a small cloth that Kankuro had snagged from his opponent resting on his palm. I need you to memorize this scent and find out where the person it belongs to went. The 8 dogs sniffed at the cloth, the sound of their actions echoing through the room, which had grown abnormally quiet at the dog's summoning. When they finished, the pug, Pakun, hopped off the bulldog's head. Don't worry, Kakashi, he said. We'll let you know when we find that scent. The dogs rushed out of the room and disappeared down the hall. Naruto looked at the door for a second, then looked at everyone in the room. Sakura was no longer there, having gone off with one of the medical ninja to the place where medicinal plants were being kept. She was trying to brew up an antidote for the poison. However, Tenten and Kakashi were with him. Tenten, I'd like you to prepare our supplies for when Pakun and the other dogs pick up the scent, Naruto said. Since we're going up against S-rank ninja, we'll need to be prepared, but none of us outside of you have the necessary equipment to deal with them. You got it, Tenten said, nodding before she left the hospital room. Naruto sighed as she vanished. Something had come between them, but if nothing else, she at least was willing to follow his orders. As Tenten left, the 2 old people walked up to Kankuro's bedside. Both of them had not said anything for a while now. Kankuro, the old woman, Chiho, said. Chiho-sama? Ebizo-sama? Kankuro looked at them like he'd been smacked in the face. He seemed surprised to see these 2. You 2 are here, too? There's something we must know, and only you can tell us, Chiho said. Am I correct in thinking that one of your opponents, the one you fought, was Sasori? The question shook Kankuro, whose lips thinned as he looked down, as though trying to hide a shameful secret. Well, speak up, Kankuro, the old man, Ebizo, said. Yes, it was Sasori of the Red Sand, Kankuro said at last, sighing as he relinquished information that he must have been reluctant to part with. He told me so himself. At this declaration, Chiho looked at the remains of Kankuro's puppet, lying still on the blue sheet. It was literally in pieces, as though something had ripped it apart, or maybe broke it apart. Naruto looked at where Chiho was looking. There, on the back of the puppet's neck, was a red scorpion symbol. Sasori of the Red Sand, Huh? Kakashi murmured, staring not at the puppet but at Chiho. From the look on your face, I'd say you know something about the person we're up against. Will you tell us? Chiho seemed reluctant to say anything. Naruto was tempted to push her for information, but at that moment, Sakura came in with the antidote, which she gave to Kankuro. It was a drink of some kind. Even after taking it, he didn't look much better. It would probably take time for the antidote to work. You should be feeling better by tomorrow, Sakura said. Make sure you get lots of rest, though. Your body needs to recover as well. Speaking of rest, we've prepared rooms for all of you, Baki said. Thank you, Naruto said. I'd love to head off right now, but it'll be a while before Pakun and the others pick up the scent. And as much as I hate to admit it, we'll need to be well rested if we plan on going up against the Akatsuki. Naruto, Kankuro said suddenly, just as a ninja was about to show them to the hotel they would be staying at. Please. Save my little brother. While Ebizo and Chiho seemed surprised by Kankuro asking him to save Gaara, Naruto merely gave the puppet master a grin. Don't worry. I'm gonna do everything in my power to save him. After all, Gaara is one of my friends. The hotel that Naruto, Kakashi, Sakura, and Tenten were shown to looked the same as every other dwelling. It was large and shaped kind of like a beehive. An oval building with rounded edges. The inside was like every other hotel he'd been in. They were given 2 rooms, one for him and Kakashi, and the other for Sakura and Tenten. When they entered their hotel, Naruto looked around at the standard furniture of the 2-bedroom. There were couches, a table and chairs, and a large nightstand. It didn't have anything else. That was okay because he didn't need much else. Naruto took off his ninja pouch and set it on the table, and then divested himself of his shirt and pants. Already getting comfortable, are we? Asked Kakashi. Unlike Naruto, he was sitting on the bed, still fully dressed except for his headband. He had his Sharingan eye closed as he leaned against the headboard, slowly flipping through the pages of his new Makeout Tactics book. Already reading porn, are we? Naruto shot back. Touché, Kakashi replied absently as he flipped another page. Naruto sat down on his bed, crossed his legs, and adopted a meditative state. Once more he tried to enter the seal where Akane was being held. Nothing happened. No matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't get through. It was like something was blocking his path. Something wrong? Asked Kakashi. Just problems with my inner free, Naruto spoke with a sigh. I see. In the quiet that settled over them, Naruto could do nothing more than wonder why Akane wasn't talking to him anymore. The moonlight shone through a window on his left. Zox, Naruto and the others woke up early the next morning. Pakun was already waiting for them in front of the hotel when the 4 of them exited. Everyone was already dressed and ready to head out on a moment's notice, and they now had more supplies and ninja tools thanks to Tenten, so it was fortuitous that Pakun was already there. Kakashi, I found the Akatsuki's secret base, Pakun said, lifting a paw. Really? Kakashi pulled a map from his pouch, unrolled it, and set it on the ground in front of Pakun. Then he knelt down. Where would they be on this map? Pakun studied the map for several seconds before pointing at one particular spot. The map was topographical, so it showed shifts in elevation. The spot indicated showed that they were hiding in a canyon that had a river in it. There was a lot of brown with a blue line running through it. Alright, Kakashi said, standing back up. He rolled up the scroll and placed it in his pouch. Thanks for the help, Pakun. Can I ask you for one more favor? Please keep an eye on the place where Akatsuki are hiding. I'd like to know if they change locations again. Will do, Pakun said. I'll see you guys later. As Pakun ran off, no doubt heading for the exit to Suna, Tenten adjusted her scroll. Since they found out where Akatsuki is hiding Gaara, I guess that means we can leave. We will in just a moment, Naruto said. But we have to wait for a second. We're not going on this mission alone. A group of Suna ninja are coming with us. Naruto created a shadow clone and sent it off. The clone's job was to inform Temari that the location of her brother had been found, so she could put together a team that would be going with them. If he knew Temari as well as he thought he did, then he knew that she would want to rescue Gaara herself. It was a 15-minute wait before Temari and 4 other ninja appeared before them, though Naruto had known they were coming when his clone dispelled. He didn't know 3 of them, a guy wearing sunglasses, a woman with purple triangles painted on her cheek, and another man with gray hair and thick sideburns, but he knew the young girl with them. Naruto couldn't remember her name. However, he was sure she was Gaara's old Junon student. Sorry it took so long, Temari said. We're all ready to go. Alright then, Naruto began. Let's head off. Hold it, Baki said as he dropped from a roof and landed next to them. Standing up from his crouched position, he looked at Temari and the Suna ninja with her. "I'm sorry, Temari, but you and your squad need to remain here. Patrol the perimeter." "What? You can't be serious," Temari shouted. "These are orders from above," Baki said, causing Temari to look like she'd swallowed her tongue. "If word gets out that the Hokage is missing, our enemies may use this as an opportunity to launch an attack on the village." "Are you kidding me?" Temari asked, though it was apparently a rhetorical question as she began a tirade seconds later. "These Konoha ninja have come all the way here just to rescue our Hokage, but you're telling me that we can't? What sort of asinine reason could there be for not letting Suna ninja rescue their own Hokage?" Baki looked away. "I'm sorry. Naruto did not know what was happening. That said, he had a theory, one that he didn't like. Gaara was a Jinchuriki, a person who'd had a tailed beast sealed into them at birth, a weapon that the village was supposed to point at their enemies, and a deterrent when he wasn't necessary. It wouldn't surprise him if many on the council still thought this way. They were the ones who had made him. It also wouldn't surprise Naruto if these people had decided that this, using the Akatsuki as a convenient excuse to get rid of him, was an acceptable means of ridding themselves of a nuisance. He did not voice these thoughts. Not only was it just a theory. Giving voice to them would only hurt Temari. "Well, I'm going," a voice shouted from above. Everyone looked up. Standing high on the building's roof was the old woman from before, Chiho, a former ninja and now retired old hag. "If a Suna shinobi is needed, then I'll be the one to go," she declared with a confidence that belied her age. "Granny Chiho," Temari uttered. Baki gawked. But you're so. I'm retired." "Yes." Chiho smiled. It was a carnivorous smile, filled with mischievousness that Naruto would not have expected to see on a woman this age. "Which means, of course, that I am free to do whatever I want." "Yes, but the journey will be difficult," the woman with triangle patches on her cheeks said. "Bah. Don't treat me like a fossil," Chiho exclaimed before crouching down and leaping off the building. Naruto's eyes almost popped from their sockets as the woman fell headfirst toward the ground. At the very last second, she flipped around, landed on her feet, and bent her knees to absorb the shock of impact. Her face now lifted into a full-fledged grin. Chiho looked at them. "After all, it's been a long time since I've had the chance to dote on my grandchild," she said, signifying an end to this conversation. Old ladies. They were some of the most stubborn people on the planet. Zox, standing at the entrance to Suna, Naruto and his party, now with Chiho, looked at Temari, Baki, and several other Suna ninja. "I'll try to convince the council to overrule their decision," Baki said to them, though Naruto knew it was an empty promise if his thoughts on the council were correct. "We'll catch up with you when we can," Temari added. Naruto grinned. "Hey, by the time you catch up, I'll have already rescued Gaara." "I'll hold you to that," Temari told him. "Count on me." There was little time to waste, so their goodbyes were brief. With Naruto leading the pack, the group now consisting of 4 ninja and 1 retiree journeyed through the desert. According to Kakashi's ninja dog, Pakun, Gaara was located several dozen kilometers outside of the desert, closer to the Land of Fire. The location was in a small canyon containing a river and surrounded by dense foliage. Crossing the desert took exactly 1 day. They were fortunate to not have run headfirst into a sandstorm, which allowed them to make great headway. Naruto drove them hard, too. He kept them going, claiming that so long as daylight was still on them, they could continue to move. As they leapt through the trees, Tenten finally gained the courage to speak. "Hey, Naruto? Yeah? How long has the Akatsuki been after you?" "I'm not sure." Naruto landed on a branch, 10 seconds after him, and both leapt off at nearly the same time. "The Akatsuki attacked me 3 years ago, you remember? But they must have formed long before that. Unfortunately, there's no way of knowing how long they've been around, or how long they've been after the Jinchuriki like myself and Gaara. Even Urasenen's spy network has only managed to get a little information about them. What worries me is that it's been 3 years since the Akatsuki have come after Naruto," Kakashi said, jumping off a branch. Sakura and Chiho followed behind him. "They've been gone for 3 years. What were they doing in that time? They must have spent all that time planning on how to capture Naruto and the other Jinchuriki." "They might have been doing that, but I think there is another reason," Chiho said, landing on a rock jutting from a small stream. She leapt off it. Everyone looked at her. "What reason would that be?" asked Sakura. Hopping off a tree branch, Chiho stared ahead with a resolute yet resigned expression. "If you are going to draw out a tailed beast, then a lot of preparation is involved. It's not something you can just do on a whim. Unless you're an Uzumaki or perhaps an Uchiha. Which means they are after not just Gaara and me, but the others as well. Naruto concluded in a questioning tone. Probably, Chiho agreed. Tailed beasts? Tenten frowned. What are you two talking about? Asked Sakura. Naruto sighed. Gaara and I aren't the only ones with a tailed beast sealed inside of us. There are 9 tailed beasts in total, and each one has a different number of tails. There's Shukaku, which Gaara has, and then the Kyubi, which is sealed inside of me. Between those are the Nibi, Senbi, Ibi, Gobi, Rakubi, Nanabi, and Hachibe. They are the 9-tailed beasts. It occurred to Naruto that if Akatsuki was after all of the tailed beasts, then Yugito was also in danger. When this mission was over, he would need to speak with her and let her know what was happening. It was getting to the point where it was no longer safe for a Jinchuriki to travel alone. You know a lot about the tailed beasts, Kakashi said. Of course I do. Not only am I a Jinchuriki, I also know several other Jinchuriki aside from myself and Gaara. The group kept moving. Naruto hopped from tree branch to tree branch. The others followed. All of the trees looked more or less the same, but Kakashi knew where they were headed and how to get there, so Naruto had him take the lead. They kept an eye out for traps. During the 3 great ninja wars, the tailed beasts were highly sought after, Chiho continued as if talking to herself. Tailed beasts are creatures whose flesh and body is composed entirely of highly concentrated chakra. During the Great Wars, the many hidden villages zealously fought over the tailed beasts and used them as weapons of war. However, a tailed beast is not something that you can just control. That is how Jinchuriki came to be created. They were made to become weapons of war, or deterrents during times of peace. You're only half right, Granny, Naruto said as he stared at Kakashi, following the man tenaciously. The first Jinchuriki was never used as a weapon. She had sealed the Kyubi within herself as a means of robbing her husband's enemy of the Kyubi's power. And also, the leather of Naruto's gloves creaked as he clenched his hands into fists. I would appreciate if you didn't speak about the Baijuu like they don't have souls. Akane was a Baijuu, but she wasn't a mindless beast that was all power and no intelligence. She had a soul. She had intelligence. She had her own goals and hopes and dreams, and he hated it when people talked as if she was just a weapon, as if she was a tool meant to be used by humans. It made all her talk of how humans were just greedy monkeys ring true. Are you standing up for the tailed beasts? Asked Chiho. I am. Akane. The Kyubi isn't just some mindless drone for us to use at our leisure. It was clear that none of them understood what he was talking about except for Tenten. She was the only one among this group who he had told about Akane. Kakashi and Sakura were in the dark. Chiho was even more in the dark. Akane wasn't talking to him. She hadn't spoken to him in almost 2 years. However, Naruto still counted her as a friend, someone important to him. They might have gotten off to a rocky start. They might have even hated each other at first. However, after spending so much time with her, he had come to realize that their unfortunate situation, being stuck together, was not her fault. More than that, he had come to enjoy her stories and rely on her for advice. Well, he had before she had started ignoring all of his attempts to talk with her. I can't think about that right now. Naruto shook his head. He needed to focus on rescuing Gaara. That took precedence for the moment. He could think about his own personal problems after Gaara had been rescued. If he survived that long. Zox, there was no warning when it came, just several loud crashes as a number of trees were felled. Something was coming. Naruto, Kakashi, Sakura, Tenten, and Chiho had no time to look at the object coming toward them. All they could do was leap out of the way as something slammed into the tree they had been leaping off of. They each landed on another tree, sticking to the trunks with chakra. A massive cloud of dirt rose into the air. Splinters exploded everywhere. As the dust cleared, Naruto and the others looked at where the tree they had been standing on used to be. The tree was no longer there. Standing in its place was a person that Naruto recognized from several years ago. His blue skin seemed wet, almost slimy, as though he was covered in a layer of greasy liquid. Shark-like teeth were hidden behind pale blue lips that were currently peeled back in a grin filled with bloodlust. Dark cloak with red clouds. The symbol of Akatsuki. He was lugging a massive object over his shoulder, a long, oblong object wrapped in bandages, the long handle of which he gripped in a single hand. The man standing on the ground below them was massive. He was at least 2 heads taller than Kakashi, and maybe even taller than that. Naruto couldn't tell from this distance and angle. However, he remembered the last time he'd run into this man. Back then, the person before them, Kisame Hoshige, had seemed like a monster, both in terms of size and appearance. Well, If it isn't the nine-tailed brat who gave me so much trouble 3 years ago. Kisame chuckled. I see you've grown a bit. I wonder if you've gotten any stronger. Tenten's eyes bulged as she stared at the person down below. That's Kisame Hoshigake, Kakashi finished when she trailed off as though choking down the words. It's been a while since I've seen your ugly mug, Naruto said. I'm surprised you're all alone. Aren't you and Itachi always together? Kisame chuckled again, the grin threatening to split his face somehow growing wider. Hey, unfortunately, Itachi is no longer with us. It's so sad. My beloved partner is gone. Naruto's hand twitched. However, that was the only sign he gave that showed his surprise. Itachi was dead? The idea was preposterous. Jiraiya had told him that out of all the Akatsuki he knew of, Itachi was hands down the most dangerous. His talent as a shinobi, the skill with which he wielded the Sharingan, and his experience made him one of the deadliest shinobi alive. There couldn't have been more than a handful of people who were able to take on Itachi and win. Oh? Who did him in, if you don't mind my asking? Asked Naruto. Curious, are you? Kisame taunted. Naruto shrugged. I'm just wondering because Sasuke will be disappointed to know that his brother died before he could kill him. Sasuke? Hey! Snickering some more, Kisame pulled the massive oblong object off his shoulder and slammed it into the ground. Saimata, the sentient sword that Kisame wielded. If you want to know who killed Itachi, then you're gonna have to defeat me and pry the information out. Kisame was clearly here to stall them. That much was obvious. He had shown up out of nowhere, told them that Itachi had been slain, and was refusing to tell them who had done it, then further taunted them by challenging them for the information. He was baiting them. This was merely an attempt to keep Naruto and the others from rescuing Gaara in time. I can't let him set the pace. Sakura, Tenten, Chiho, Naruto began, Kakashi and I will deal with Kisame. I want you three to head toward the coordinates and begin the rescue mission. We'll catch up once we finish with him. Sakura and Tenten looked like they wanted to complain. However, they were also experienced kunoichi, and they understood that Naruto was in charge of this mission. Even if they disagreed with his decision, they steeled themselves. Right, Sakura said. We'll begin rescuing Gaara. Hurry up and finish this guy so you can back us up. Otherwise we'll finish the mission without you. Be safe, Naruto, Tenten said. Chiho, Tenten, and Sakura leapt off in the direction they had been traveling. Kakashi had said that Pakun was near the Akatsuki's hideout, so he wasn't worried about them getting lost. Kisame was still standing down below. He didn't appear concerned about the kunoichi traveling away from him, which meant he probably didn't think two teenage girls and an old lady were a threat. Are you sure about this, Naruto? Asked Kakashi. I can't go all out if I'm worrying about Tenten and Sakura, and Chiho is too frail to fight this guy, Naruto said. In a battle with someone like Kisame, less is more. If you say so. Are you two done chatting? Asked Kisame as he raised Saimata above his head. Because if so, I'd like to get this battle started. I'm itching to see some blood. Kisame tossed Saimata into the air, high above the trees, and then clapped his hands together. Chakra so powerful that even Naruto could feel it amassed inside of him. Whatever he was doing, it was gonna be big. Get ready, Naruto, Kakashi said as he bent his knees. Naruto steadied his breathing and began circulating his chakra. He was gonna go full out right from the beginning. Don't worry, sensei. I was born ready. Suiten, Bakasui Shoha. Water sprayed from Kisame's mouth, massive amounts of it, so much that it grew in height and size, expanding like the surging of an enormous tidal wave. Riding on top of this wave was Kisame, who continued pushing more water out of his mouth. Seeing this made Naruto wonder about how much chakra this guy had. It was no wonder people nicknamed him the Baijuu without a tail. Naruto flinched as water splashed against his face. The massive wave fell toward him and Kakashi, forcing them to jump before they were crushed by several hundred tons of liquid. Trees splintered as they were crushed. The water spread. More trees were hit, toppling over, unable to hold up under the intense pressure that slammed into them. Kisame rode the water and tilted his head, looking up at him and Kakashi as they landed on one of the larger trees, which had been able to withstand the impact due primarily to its size. This didn't mean much. Kisame grinned at them as the water he rode on crested and swelled, rising above even the tree Naruto and Kakashi stood on. Kakashi-sensei. I'm on it. Kakashi had already lifted his headband to unveil his Sharingan eye. He went through a series of hand seals, bent his knees, and pointed his left hand down, while he gripped his left forearm with his right hand for support. Reikiri. Lightning crackled from his palm, sparking and arcing out in tendrils that struck the tree, causing smoke and the scent of burnt wood to waft through the air. As the wave crashed down, Naruto threw himself away from the tree, while Kakashi leapt up toward Kisame. His Reikiri, the jutsu that was a level above Sasuke's Chidori, cut through Kisame like he was water. Which might have been because he actually was water. A water clone? Kakashi gawked. When did he? Kisame appeared behind Kakashi and swung Saimata. It was dodged, but it was a near thing from Naruto's perspective. Kakashi was nearly hit. The Kisame we were talking to was probably a clone this entire time. Kakashi would have seen him create a clone and replace himself otherwise. While Kakashi was obviously surprised, he didn't let Kisame know and responded to this new threat by leaping through the air and unleashing a Konoha Senpu Mido Guise and Bushy Brow's signature attack. It was blocked by Saimata. However, the attack had enough power that Kisame was still launched off the water and flew through the air. Now's my chance. Naruto took a deep breath, released it, and then channeled his chakra. His body was enveloped by a dark purple aura as chakra exploded from his pores. He could feel his body changing. His body became thinner, more streamlined, but his muscles became denser, harder, and more powerful. The nails on his hands and feet sharpened into claws. He groaned as the whiskers on face became thicker, and his eyes went from blue to purple. All of Naruto's senses became sharper. It hurt. His eyes could pick out each individual leaf on the trees still standing, his nose could catch the smell of salt in the water Kisame had released, and his feet could feel the particles that had become stuck in his sandals. It was annoying. However, with this increase in senses, Naruto also received an intense boost in power. I can keep this up for a full 2 hours now, but I hope I won't need to use all that time. I want to save this for when we confront Gaara's kidnapper. Before Kisame had an inkling as to the danger he was in, Naruto launched himself at the shark-like man, who was even now fighting against Kakashi in a taijutsu battle. "You're not nearly as good at taijutsu as that green idiot," Kisame said. "Yes, well, my specialty is ninjutsu," Kakashi admitted with an eye smile. "But I'm still good enough to battle against you." "Hey! You've got a mouth on," Kisame said no more as Naruto slammed into him with a heel kick. The sound of his foot hitting Kisame's face was like a cannon blast. It echoed across the now destroyed forest as Kisame, his body twirling around, was sent rocketing off. "This one isn't a clone." Naruto pushed himself harder, rocketing after Kisame as though he were flying. Wind chakra blasted from his feet and hands, propelling him forward, and he caught up quickly, appearing above Kisame as though by narration. Naruto Uzumaki Rendon. Spinning around, Naruto drop-kicked Kisame in the gut. Blood spilled from the shark man's mouth. Further proof that this was Kisame. Not even a second later, Kisame abruptly changed direction, shifting from flying horizontally to vertically. He crashed into the water his own jutsu had created. A large splash blasted high into the air like a geyser. As he landed on the ground, Kakashi appearing seconds later, Naruto looked around to try and locate Kisame. He couldn't believe that an attack of this level had done the man in. He was probably hiding underneath the water, waiting for the perfect chance to ambush them. "Can you locate him?" Naruto asked. Kakashi shook his head. Although the Sharingan can see chakra to some degree, it's nowhere near as good as the Byakugan. What's more, all the chakra in this water would make it difficult for even a Byakugan to locate Kisame. Well, damn. At that moment, water exploded in front of them. Naruto snarled and slashed it apart with wind-infused claws. Kisame burst into water. Just a clone. Another one came out behind him. Naruto tore through that one, too. It was also a clone. Naruto grimaced as more water splashed him in the face, soaked his clothes, and made him shiver from the cold. To make matters worse, 3 more Kisames had appeared around him. All of them were probably also clones. The clones did not attack him right away, so Naruto looked to see how Kakashi was doing. Like him, his sensei was also fighting water clones. Kakashi tore through them like a scythe cutting through wheat. His Reikiri chirped as he used it like one might a sword, slicing apart everything in his path and using his Sharingan to avoid the water clone's attacks. He's not going to last long. Kakashi was an incredible ninja who had achieved mastery of the Sharingan despite not being an Uchiha, but that same mastery was also his biggest weakness. The Sharingan consumed a lot of chakra. Even though Kakashi was a Jonin with a large reserve of power, he didn't have Naruto's or Kisame's monstrous capacity. In a battle of attrition like this, Kakashi would run out of chakra long before Kisame. Which meant Naruto had to do something. Thinking fast, Naruto decided to just go for broke. and leapt high into the air. Kisame's water clones followed him, but Naruto sliced them apart with wind chakra. He soon reached the peak. Now so high above the forest that he could see dozens of kilometers out, Naruto began to fall. He oriented himself until he was falling head first. Then he channeled chakra into his hand. A Rasengan formed. It was purple. The Rasengan grew bigger. Seconds passed. The Rasengan continued to grow. It soon became the size of Naruto's head, and then the size of his body. Once it had gotten that large, Naruto exerted his control over it and, gritting his teeth as he struggled to bring the chakra under heel, he forced the Rasengan to compress until it was just a regular-sized sphere no larger than his fist. He held the Rasengan out in front of him. Then he slammed into the massive waves of water like a pantheon of angry gods. The water around him parted as he drilled a hole straight through, going all the way to the bottom, where he released all of the chakra built up in his Rasengan. Purple chakra exploded outward like a shockwave. With Naruto in the center of it, a large ripple tore through the water, wreaking havoc and causing the water to get blasted every which way. Cracks also appeared in the ground. They were large and gaping, chasms that easily spanned at least a meter in width and several more meters deep. Naruto, in the center of the chaos he'd unleashed, was completely unaffected. He waited until the storm from his attack had settled down, and then he stood up. He looked around. Naruto was standing within a crater. It was quite large, at least 10 meters across and several deep. The forest and water that had been present was gone. There was no sign of Kisame. There was also no sign of Kakashi. Please warn me the next time you do something like that. Wait. Never mind. Kakashi was climbing out of the ground several meters away, his silver hair now covered in brown mud. His clothing was a bit torn, but he didn't look harmed. He stood up and walked over to Naruto, whistling. "You've done quite a lot of damage," Kakashi said. "I had no idea you had this kind of destructive power." Releasing his hybrid mode, Naruto allowed his body to return to normal. "My hybrid mode grants me incredible destructive powers at the cost of consuming chakra a lot more quickly. My control over it has gotten to the point where I can last for around 2 hours, but I can't fire off techniques like this one willy-nilly." "I can see why," Kakashi murmured. "Do you think that got him?" Kakashi sighed as he pulled his headband back down. "I don't know, but I'd guess so." "Guess again," a voice said from beneath them. Naruto and Kakashi looked down just as water gushed forth. Even though they were surprised, both of them were experienced enough to jump out of the way or try to. They were too late. The water had latched onto their legs. Not only did it keep them from running, but it quickly expanded to cover their entire bodies, leaving them trapped. "This is the Suro no Jutsu complete." Kisame Hoshige grinned as he emerged from the ground several meters from their position. As he did, a pair of water clones appeared from underneath the ground as well. Naruto realized that Kisame must have used his massive attack as a means of cover, hid himself underground, and then waited until they had let their guard down before attacking. "I have to admit, you two have given me a lot more trouble than I thought you would," Kisame said. "I see now why the zombie brothers lost to you, nine-tailed brat. However, you shouldn't assume that everyone in Akatsuki are in the same league. Those two are nowhere near as powerful as I am." "So I see," Kakashi said from behind Kisame. Naruto blinked when the Kakashi inside of the water prison disappeared. Meanwhile, the Kakashi behind Kisame attacked with a kunai. It was blocked when Kisame shifted Seimata on his back, but Kakashi merely leapt back. Naruto used that moment to escape. He exploded with chakra, entered his hybrid mode again, and tore apart the water prison with ease. As he landed on the ground, Naruto stared at Kisame, now pinned between him and Kakashi, and tried to figure out how the man had escaped the explosion from his technique. "He must have replaced himself with a water clone just after I released my technique. He could have easily hid himself underground before my Rasengan hit the ground, and then he attacked the moment Kakashi and I dropped our guard." Except Kakashi hadn't dropped his guard. It was clear that Kakashi had seen what Kisame had done, replaced himself with a clone, and then waited for Kisame to reveal himself. No wonder he was an S-rank ninja in the bingo book. As Naruto concluded his theory, Kakashi rushed Kisame and engaged the man in taijutsu. Kisame mostly relied on using his sword to block Kakashi's kunai. Naruto was impressed by the speed at which Kisame swung Seimata, which had to weigh at least as much as Naruto did. Even so, he whirled it around like it weighed less than a feather. Kakashi blocked one of Kisame's attacks, using his kunai to bring Seimata into the ground, and then he kicked Kisame in the face. As the shark man stumbled back, Kakashi grabbed Seimata's handle to take it away from Kisame. HNNKKK. Naruto jerked his head back as Kakashi bit back a surprised scream. The Jonin's hand was bleeding from what looked like teeth marks. Naruto looked back at the sword. Jutting from Samada's handle were numerous sharp spikes that reminded him of fins, or maybe shark's teeth. They were covered in glistening crimson blood. "Kakashi," Naruto shouted. "Look out, Naruto." Naruto leapt back as a water clone of Kisame attacked him. He slashed out with his hand and unleashed 4 wind blades that severed the clone into 5 pieces before it splashed into water. The real Kisame, or what Naruto assumed was the real Kisame, had grabbed Samada once more. Naruto rushed toward him. A Rasengan appeared in his hand, which he thrust out. Kisame raised Samada. Naruto's Rasengan slammed into the giant sword, but instead of grinding it apart like what would have happened if Kisame was using a regular sword, this one caused the Rasengan to dissipate. Naruto felt his chakra being drained and jumped back. "I had forgotten that your sword can absorb chakra," Naruto said with a grimace. "Well, now you remember." Kisame grinned. "Not that it'll do you any good." Naruto knew they were in a bind. He'd been careful about not letting Kisame use Samada to absorb his chakra. There was no telling what would happen if Samada got a hold of his chakra in hybrid mode, which was exceptionally powerful. That would be a bad combination. "You got a plan, Kakashi?" Naruto asked the man standing on his left. "I do," Kakashi admitted. "I was hoping not to use this unless I really had to, but, well, it looks like I really have to. Just hold him off for at least 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Got it." Naruto rushed forward, slashing his hands and unleashing several blades of wind that Kisame blocked with Samada. The sword gobbled his chakra up like it was a delicacy. Naruto narrowed his eyes, but he didn't stop his charge and soon slammed into Kisame with a heel kick. It was blocked by a sword. Naruto bit back a scream as jagged teeth tore through the bandages wrapped around the sword. Pain flared in his foot as he hopped back. He couldn't withhold his grimace, but he wasn't given time to recover as Kisame swung at him. The massive sword dug into the ground as Kisame slammed Samada into the earth. "Fuuten, Tatsumaki Senpu." Naruto punched the air in front of him, which exploded as a tornado emerged from his fist. It was blocked. Of course it was. Samada could absorb chakra. However, the purpose of this was to distract Kisame so Kakashi could do whatever he needed to. Udoma Rasengan. Creating another Rasengan, Naruto pumped more chakra into it, causing it to expand, and then he thrust it at Kisame, who raised Samada. The Rasengan blasted against Samada, which tried to absorb his chakra. However, Naruto refused to be beaten, and he pumped more and more chakra into his Rasengan, trying to overpower the Samada with sheer grit. "Brat, do you really think you can overpower me like this?" Kisame asked. "I won't know unless I try," Naruto grunted as he fed the Rasengan even more chakra. "I'm confident in my chakra capacity." "Ha! It's your funeral." As Naruto continued pushing against Kisame's blade, Samada, Kakashi suddenly shouted, "Move, Naruto." Naruto did move. He leapt back just as Kakashi's Sharingan eye suddenly changed. Naruto didn't see much because something else caught his attention, but Kakashi's eye had definitely changed shape. Kisame screamed as something black appeared around him. His eyes widened as he tried to leap back, but he was too late. Dark red blood flew everywhere as Kisame was torn in two, the two halves flying off in separate directions before hitting the ground with a meaty thud. Sweat had formed on Naruto's brow, but he wiped it away as his tense muscles relaxed. It looked like the battle was over. Not even someone like Kisame could survive something like that. What the heck? Naruto walked up to Kisame's corpse, or what should have been Kisame's corpse. What had once been Kisame was now someone else. The man now lying on the ground in two halves was shorter than Kisame by at least half a meter. Black hair hung limply from his head, the left bangs longer than the right. He had a goatee, and his dark eyes stared listlessly at the sky. "Kakashi." "Yeah, that's not Kisame," Kakashi said, pulling his headband over his Sharingan. "I don't know who that is, but they are clearly someone else. Judging from their clothes, not only is this person a shinobi from Suna, but they're an important member. That robe is only worn by members of Suna's council. I remember hearing something about how one of their members went missing. Think this is him? It's certainly possible. I would even say it's highly probable." Kakashi looked at the decimated carcass and sighed. "However, this only gives me more questions. What was this person doing with the Akatsuki? Why was he fighting us, and why did he look like Kisame?" "Probably some jutsu," Naruto said. "Whatever questions we may have won't be answered by just standing around." Naruto came to a decision. Let's seal this guy inside of a scroll. We can have Baki identify him later. Right now rescuing Gaara is our top priority. You're right, Kakashi agreed. Good judgment call, Naruto. Thanks. Naruto pulled out a scroll, knelt down, had Kakashi place the two corpse halves on the scroll, and then made a hand seal. There was a burst of smoke. When the smoke cleared, the carcass was gone, and kanji was now written all over the seals. Sighing, he rolled the scroll up, stood to his feet, then put the scroll in his pouch. "Let's go," he said. "I'm right behind you," Kakashi said. As they took off, Naruto wondered if Tenten, Sakura, and Chiho had arrived at Akatsuki's hideout yet. He hoped nothing had happened to them. Naruto and Kakashi caught up with Chiho, Tenten, and Sakura a lot more quickly than he expected. Maybe it was because the trio had been moving slowly, or perhaps they were just going really fast. He didn't know. However, about 2 hours after they had defeated Kisame, or the person who they thought was Kisame, the three other ninja came into sight. "I take it you took care of the person who tried to impede us?" Chiho was the first to notice them. She turned her head to look their way as he and Kakashi paced themselves to tree hop alongside them. "We did," Naruto answered, "but it seems the person we fought wasn't who we thought he was." "What do you mean?" asked Tenten as she shifted her focus from the trees to him. "What Naruto means is that they had some kind of advanced jutsu to make us think we were fighting against Kisame Hoshigaki," Kakashi answered for Naruto. "The person we fought looked like Kisame, fought like Kisame, and even had Kisame's monstrous chakra. However, when we finally killed him, the person turned into someone else, a Suna Shinobi that I don't recognize." "What?" Chiho asked, shocked, eyes growing wide. "Did you bring the body with you? Tell me you brought the body." "We did," Naruto confirmed. "I thought it would be good to bring it along so you or someone else from Suna could identify the body." "Let's stop here," Chiho requested. "I would like to see the body with my own eyes," Naruto agreed, though he didn't want to waste too much time, and they stopped in a small clearing, where Naruto took out his storage scroll and unsealed the body. Chiho stared at it with a growing sense of horror. Tenten looked away with a frown, while Sakura studied the damage done to the two halves. "This is... You're it?" Chiho almost screamed. "You're it?" Kakashi asked. He was a jonin of the village and a member of Suna's council in charge of security. Chiho's voice shook as she spoke, unable to believe what she was looking at. Naruto couldn't blame her. So this man was an important member of the village, Kakashi summarized. "Do you think he was a spy?" asked Sakura. Chiho, though, shook her head as if to deny it. "That shouldn't be possible. All of Suna's council was carefully selected and scrutinized before we let them join. Had he been a spy, we would have known about it." While it was true that one couldn't perfectly judge a person, and that it was possible he'd been a spy all along, Naruto didn't think that was the case here. It was one thing for the village to let a Jonin or Chunin spy into their midst, or to miss a really skilled Jonin spy. However, letting a spy into the council of a village was a serious error. It took incredible incompetency to let a spy in that high up on the hierarchy. "It's possible that he was a sleeper agent being controlled by a jutsu," Naruto said, once more sealing the body. "If he was a sleeper agent, then he wouldn't even know that he was a spy himself until the jutsu activated. That would keep anyone from figuring out that he was a spy." "Yes, I suppose it would," Chiho agreed, though from her grimace, she didn't seem to like that thought. It opened a whole new can of worms. How many people were sleeper agents? How many were on the council? There was simply no way of knowing if he was the only one, or if there were more and in what numbers. "But why would they reveal such an advanced jutsu?" asked Tenten. "It was obviously done for several reasons," Kakashi deduced. "They were probably gathering intelligence on us. By using this jutsu to fight against us, it not only negates the risk to themselves, but it also means they can learn all about our strengths and weaknesses without having to actually fight us." "It's more than that," Chiho said. "The fact that they would use such a jutsu means they wanted to stall us. It's just as I feared. This Akatsuki group is clearly trying to take the Shukaku from Gaara," Naruto agreed. "The two things required to take a tailed beast out of a Jinchuriki is a seal that's powerful enough to pull the tailed beast out, and enough time to use the jutsu. Which means they've probably already begun using the jutsu on Gaara," Kakashi said. "They've had him for several days now. There's no telling how far they've gone with the unsealing." Naruto looked at the setting sun. It had taken them a long time to finish that fight with Kisame, and it was now nearing night. The sky was painted with color and getting darker by the second. "And it looks like we can't go any further tonight, which means their plan to stall us has succeeded," Naruto said. It'll take another 8 hours to reach the Akatsuki hideout that Pakun found, and that's if we keep going at the same pace we have been going. However, if we keep going now, we'll be exhausted and unable to fight. He bit his lip hard enough to draw blood as he came to a decision. Let's get some rest here. We'll sleep for 6 hours, and then head out again. Everyone got out their supplies and set them up within the clearing. Naruto had Kakashi go out and hunt some fish for them to eat. Meanwhile, he had Sakura start a fire while he set up a perimeter using a seal that he had created from scratch. "Do you need any help, Naruto?" asked Tenten as she came up behind him. "Sure." Naruto reached into his sealing pouch and pulled out several slips of paper, which he handed to Tenten. "Could you please put these on some of the trees surrounding this area? I want them to form a perimeter around our camp." "What are these?" "Fuinjutsu tags," Naruto answered. "It's a seal that will alert me to whenever a chakra signatures walks past it. It's indiscriminate, so I can't tell friend from foe, but since there are only enemies out there, it won't matter unless one of us decides to leave the perimeter." "You've really improved your Fuinjutsu," Tenten said. "It's one of the things that Perv trained me heavily in," Naruto said. "That and learning to control my hybrid mode." As he and Tenten talked, Naruto gained the distinct sense that she was trying to bring up something specific. She kept starting to talk about something, and then stopping as though she wasn't sure whether she should continue. Should he call her out? He shook his head. No. Not right now. Whatever she wanted to talk about was clearly problematic, and if they brought it up now, there was a chance that it would affect her performance, which could lead to the mission failing or even death. Neither of those were an option. "I'll shelf whatever discussion she wants to bring up for later," he decided. It was a decision he would later come to regret. Zox Kakashi couldn't sleep. Naruto, Sakura, and Tenten had gone to bed, but he and Chiho were still up. That was all right by him. As an experienced Jonin, a former Anbu at that, Kakashi had done more than his fair share of missions where he'd gone days without rest. Not sleeping for a single night like this wouldn't affect his performance. He couldn't say the same about Chiho, but she was his senior, so he wouldn't reprimand her. "Kakashi, do you mind if I ask you something?" Chiho suddenly said. Leaning against a tree, Kakashi flipped through a page of his book, though he wasn't actually reading this time. He'd been expecting this conversation. "Go ahead," he said. "Why is Naruto trying so hard to rescue Gaara?" asked Chiho. "Why is he so determined?" Kakashi looked at Naruto, who was sleeping against a tree, his head lowered, eyes closed, breathing even. It was an interesting position. He guessed Naruto had grown used to sleeping at awkward angles during his stint around the elemental nations with Jiraiya. He looked back at Chiho. "There are many reasons. I don't know if you know this, but Naruto and Gaara are actually friends. As I understand it, Naruto spent 6 months in Suna, learning how to use wind chakra. During that time, he and Gaara sparred with each other many times. He closed his single visible eye and sighed. However, if I had to give the biggest reason, I would say it's because Naruto is also a Jinchuriki. Sealed inside of him is the Kyuubi, the nine-tailed fox." Chiho sucked in a deep breath, and Kakashi, having heard the sound, gave her a mirthless smile hidden behind his mask. More than anyone else, Naruto understands the pain that Gaara has gone through. Because he experienced that exact same pain. Kakashi turned his gaze back to Naruto. "Did you know that Naruto's dream is also to become Hokage? I'm sure that when he first learned about Gaara becoming the Kazekage, he was equally parts frustrated and happy. I'm sure he was overjoyed to discover that his fellow Jinchuriki had reached such a position because it meant that Gaara had finally become recognized." Silence descended upon them. Kakashi didn't mind. Talking about this subject always weighed heavily on his mind. Naruto was his student, but he was also so much more than that. A lot of people thought that Kakashi had accepted this team because of Sasuke Uchiha, and that was partially true. Sasuke had reminded him of himself when he was younger, and he had been hoping to steer the boy away from his path of revenge. However, the biggest reason he wanted to take on this team was Naruto, a boy who reminded him so much of his long-lost friend, Obito, and the son of someone he admired. "I've lived for a long time," Chiho said suddenly. "Long enough that I've been through 2 shinobi wars and was present during the ascension of each Kazekage. In all that time, I never imagined we would be in this position. I never thought that Suna would be forced to rely on a village that I didn't trust for aid in rescuing our Kazekage. Life is certainly full of surprises," Kakashi agreed. "However, I do not think this is a bad thing." "No, I suppose not," Chiho said. Silence descended again, and this time it remained. The moon overhead cast strange shadows on the ground as it peeked from between the leaves. Zox Naruto had the team wake up before the sun had risen, packed up their camp, and made off toward their destination. 5 days had already passed since Gaara had been kidnapped. They couldn't afford to delay this any longer. It didn't take more than 8 hours to arrive at their destination. They didn't run into any more Akatsuki, so they arrived safely and at full strength. Even so, Naruto was concerned. The fact that no one came to impede them suggested that Akatsuki may have already achieved their goal. The river calmly flowed beneath their feet as Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, Tenten, and Chiho stood within a small ravine. Cliffs faced either side of them. They were steep and tall, with no ledges or anything to grasp. Only a shinobi would be capable of scaling them. Within this ravine was one section that appeared different from the others. There was a massive boulder stuck in the wall. It was not natural. Someone had placed it there. A seal tag had been put on the boulder. "This is the 5-seal barrier technique," Naruto announced as he looked at the tag. "It's created by placing 5 seals with the kanji for forbidden at various locations within a certain perimeter. We won't be able to get in unless all 5 seal tags are removed at the same time. Then we should split up and remove them," Tenten said. "No." Naruto shook his head. "That's exactly what the Akatsuki wants us to do. They probably have traps set up at each barrier site to keep whoever pulls the tags occupied. We'd only lose fighting strength that way." "Then what should we do?" asked Sakura. "Kage Bunshine no Jutsu." Naruto responded to her question by forming a cross-shaped hand seal and shouting the name of his signature technique. Instantly, 5 clones appeared. They already knew what to do, so all of them except one shot off in opposite directions. The remaining clone leapt onto the boulder and crouched before the seal. "Sakura." "Yes? Once my clones pull off the seal, I want you to break this boulder down." Sakura cracked her knuckles. "You got it. Everyone, make sure you're prepared," Naruto continued. "We have no idea what we're going to find in there, so we won't be able to assess the situation until we get inside, but if we want to rescue Gaara, we're going to need to respond quickly." "Got it," Sakura said. "I'm ready," Tenten added. Kakashi pulled up his headband, though he kept his eye closed. Meanwhile, Chiho remained as she was. He didn't know what she had planned, but she seemed like a wily old lady, so he wasn't concerned. It wasn't long before his clones signified they were ready by creating another clone and dispelling it. Naruto and the 5th clone got the message. Each clone was going to pull off the tag in 1, 2, 3. The Naruto clone in front of them dispelled, and Sakura didn't hesitate to rush forward barely a second later, slamming into the boulder like she was a tidal wave smashing against a small coastal village. Even Naruto found himself shocked by the results. Cracks spread from Sakura's fist, soaring across the surface faster than he could blink. The boulder soon fell apart. Large chunks fell into the water with loud splashes. Naruto rushed in. Kakashi, Sakura, Tenten, and Chiho followed. He stopped the moment he entered and assessed the situation. It wasn't that hard. Within the large, cavernous space were several objects of interest. The most obvious was the massive statue that sat inside of the cavern. It looked like a monster with multiple closed hands. Hands from the monster jutted from the ground, fingers splayed in a gesture that seemed pleading, as though it was anguished and wishing for salvation. The other objects were clustered together. It was 3 bodies. One of them was a hunched figure, another was a sitting, and the last was a figure lying on the ground, which the second figure sat on. Naruto immediately recognized Gaara. His red hair and the black rings around his eyes were a dead giveaway. The other 2 figures he didn't know, but they were wearing black cloaks with red clouds. Akatsuki. Gaara. Naruto didn't need to get close to see that Gaara was dead. If he'd been alive, there was no way he would have let that blonde-haired Akatsuki member sit on him like that. "Damn these bastards." "Huh? You guys are late," the blonde one said. "Do you know how long we've been waiting for you? Now, which one of you is the 9-tailed Jinchuriki?" A red haze fell over Naruto's eyes. He could hardly think. He could barely breathe. All Naruto could see was that blonde bastard sitting on Gaara as though he was a piece of furniture. It was a wonder he had the capacity to actually produce words. "You." Naruto pointed at the blonde. "I'm assuming that you're the one who kidnapped Gaara." He switched his finger from the blonde to the hunchback. "Which means that you are Sasori of the Red Sand, the one who poisoned Kankuro." "You hear that, Sasori?" the blonde one said. "This kid knows us. Are you Konoha's Jinchuriki? I was told that he was supposed to be a brat with blonde hair, but you seem awfully calm. Was our information wrong?" "Oh, well. Kakashi," Naruto said softly, his arms trembling. "I'm going full throttle right from the start. I'll separate those two from Gaara. I want you to grab his body and run for it. Take him somewhere safe. Kakashi opened his eye. The Sharingan's three-tomeless world. You got it. Sakura, Tenten, Chiho. You three can deal with Sasori once I've separated them. The blonde is mine. Sakura, Tenten, and Chiho didn't say anything, but they tensed at his words. He took that to mean they were ready. Even if they weren't, he wasn't waiting. Naruto didn't hesitate to release all of his chakra in a single burst and transform into his hybrid mode. Purple chakra exploded around him, becoming visible. The ground beneath him cracked as it was unable to handle the massive outpouring of energy. His hair grew longer and jagged. His eyes went from blue to purple as his vision sharpened. Claws grew from his nails, long and sharp, and his whisker marks thickened and turned jagged. Before his transformation was even complete, Naruto had burst forward. Not even a tenth of a second had passed before he appeared in front of the blonde shinobi. The ninja had literally no time to respond, especially not sitting as he was, and Naruto used that unpreparedness to slam into him with a heel kick to the face. Never had Naruto felt more satisfied than he did now. There was a loud crack as the face he hit caved. The blonde was launched off Gaara like a rocket. He soared straight through the air, parallel to the ground, and then slammed headfirst into the giant statue. Cracks appeared before the statue broke apart seconds later. Loud crashing noises echoed around the cavern as the entire statue collapsed to the ground, turning into a heap of rubble. Naruto had to give Sasori credit. The man had not been idle while he'd been using that blonde man's face as a soccer ball. The puppet user leapt back quicker than Naruto expected, then lashed out with a metal tail that sprang from within his cloak. Not one to just stand there and take it, Naruto also couldn't let it hit Gaara, so he did what any good ninja with destructive powers would do. He shoved a Rasengan into it. His purple Rasengan ground against the tail, producing a loud squeal as the Rasengan, made from overpowered condensed chakra spinning in multiple directions, tore the tail apart. Naruto kicked at the tail, making sure to coat his leg in a layer of chakra so thick the metal couldn't cut him. The tail hit the ground. Naruto knew this was his chance and took 2 steps forward and thrust out his fist, punching a hole straight through Sasori's body. Or he would have, except this didn't feel like much of a body. In fact, the body that his hand broke through had a very wooden feel to it. A shadowed figure leapt away from the body. Naruto grimaced as he kicked the body his hand had plunged through. As the figure landed on the ground several feet away, the body that Naruto had skewered broke apart, revealing that it was nothing more than a puppet. Kakashi darted in as the figure on the ground remained crouched. He grabbed Gaara and hurried back outside of the cavern. Meanwhile, Sakura, Tenten, and Chiho appeared around him. Sakura and Tenten were both prepared for combat, but Chiho was staring at the crouched figure in shock. "You surprised me," an incredibly young voice said as the figure stood up. "I had not expected such speed and power. It seems our information on your abilities was wholly inaccurate. I guess that's what we get for listening to that idiot Hidan." The figure before them wore the same black cloak as his puppet. However, that was where the similarities ended. He stood before them with his back straight, his youthful face surrounded by messy red hair. This person looked young, far younger than Sasori was purported to be. "This can't be," Chiho muttered. "What's wrong, Granny Chiho?" asked the young man, tilting his head quizzically as though curious by her reaction. "Are you so filled with emotion that you can't speak?" "I'm not surprised. It is our first reunion in 20 years. Sasori. You. Hey, Deidara," Sasori called out. "How long do you plan on lying there? Come out." The pile of debris that had once been the statue exploded in a gout of flames. As large clods of rock and sediment rained down, out from within this cloud of falling detritus came Deidara, who walked along the ground, wincing as he limped forward. His clothing was ripped and numerous cuts lined his face. However, he was still whole. Yes, I am coming," Deidara said. "Just give me a minute to recover. You can't be too harsh on me. That hit really knocked me for a loop. I was actually unconscious until just a few seconds ago." "I do not care what sort of injuries you are suffering from," Sasori retorted. "We have a job to do." Deidara clicked his tongue. "You can be so harsh, Sasori." Naruto frowned as Deidara walked up to Sasori. That kick should have pulverized his face. He hadn't been holding back, so how was this asshat still alive? Well, whatever. None of that mattered. The only thing he cared about was killing these two. "I want you three to handle Sasori," Naruto instructed as he struggled to think of how to fight this battle. His head felt like it was covered in a thick layer of fog. "I will take on the blonde one." "I'll help you," Tenten said. "No," Naruto snapped. then grimaced when Tenten reeled in shock. He took a deep breath and began again. Sorry, but no. I'm going to unleash all of my power. However, my abilities are indiscriminate. They're just as likely to catch you as they are my enemies. It's better for all of us if you help Sakura and Chiho. Tenten's face reminded him of a person who'd been slapped. The shocked anguish there made him want to flinch, but he couldn't let her fight with him. He couldn't release all of his power if he was worrying about his comrade getting caught up one of his attacks. But I wanted to help you, Tenten muttered. Naruto needed to take a calm breath to resist his first impulse, which was to tell Tenten that she couldn't help him. I'm sorry, he said. But in a battle of this caliber, I'm afraid I can't afford to hold back, which I would be forced to do if you fought alongside me. So you're saying I'm a burden? Of course not. I'm saying that my own powers are too destructive, and I don't have enough control over them to fight alongside other people. However, to win this battle, I need to go all out. If I have to hold back so I don't accidentally kill my teammates, I'll never be able to win. Naruto calmed down as he realized he was getting worked up. Look, Sasori is the more dangerous opponent from what I have seen. Sakura and Chiho will need more help than I do. Please help them, Tenten sighed. Alright. Fine. I'll help them. Thank you. Humph. Deidara huffed. That foolish blonde seems to think you're more powerful than me. That foolish blonde is onto something, Sasori said. I'd also like to point out that you're blonde. Whatever. Deidara held out his hand, and Naruto realized there was a mouth on his palm. The mouth spat something out. Then Deidara performed a hand seal and created a giant clay bird, which he hopped onto. Anyway, I'm sorry to say this, Sasori, but I think I'm gonna take that Jinchuriki as well. See you later. The bird lifted off and flew out of the cavern. Naruto glared at it, his seething anger no longer held back and boiling over. He forgot all about Tenten and the others. Only one thing mattered, catching up to Deidara and tearing him apart. With a snarl splitting his lips, Naruto rushed out of the cavern, ignoring the shouts that came from behind him. Zox Kakashi didn't know how far he should travel. He was lugging the body of Gaara across his shoulder, racing through the trees. His breathing came out in even pants as he regulated his oxygen intake and timed it to his running. The problem was that he had no idea if there was anywhere that was safe outside of maybe Suna, but that would take days to reach, so Suna was out. This would have been so much easier if Naruto had been more specific. As he came upon the clearing where he and Naruto had fought Kisame, Kakashi stopped. Several people were standing around, studying the battle site. Suna ninja. He recognized Baki and Temari, though he didn't know the others by name. None of them were in the bingo book. Baki. Temari, Kakashi called out the two as he rushed over to them. Kakashi, is that Gaara? Temari shifted from greeting him to screaming as she recognized the figure over his shoulder. Wearing a grave expression barely masked by his mask, Kakashi nodded and set Gaara on the ground. Temari, Baki, and the others crowded around their Kazekage. Temari was the first to recognize what state Gaara was in. She gasped and held a hand to her mouth. When the others realized that Gaara was dead, a wave of shock, horror, and anguish rippled through the group. No. Temari muttered, covering her mouth with her hands. No. Gaara. I can't believe it, Baki said. Our Kazekage has been killed. I'm sorry, Kakashi said. We found out where they had taken Gaara, but we arrived too late. Temari fell to her knees and buried her face on Gaara's chest as she began to cry. Kakashi looked away. This wasn't something he should be seeing. He caught Baki's eye and resisted a sigh as the man walked up to him. Can you please inform of what happened? Baki asked. Nodding, Kakashi told Baki and the others everything that happened. All the while, Temari's inconsolable cries filled the air. Zox Naruto snarled as he raced after Deidara, who flew high above him on some giant clay bird. He had tried jumping up to reach Deidara several times. However, each time the man would throw one of those clay bombs at him. None of the attacks hurt. Even so, the force from each blast forced him back to the ground. It was really pissing him off. Naruto glared up at Deidara as he leapt across several giant roots that were sticking out of the cliff walls. Up above, Deidara tossed several of those clay bombs shaped like spiders at him. With a snarl, Naruto swiped his hand through the air, unleashing a powerful blade of wind that sliced through the clay bombs, causing them to explode. The heat from the explosion singed the hairs on his arms. Reason had lost its meaning. Slashing out his hand again, Naruto sent another blade of wind at Deidara. It was dodged. Deidara directed his clay bird to ascend higher than his wind blade. His gums bleeding, from how hard he was gnashing his teeth together, he sent several more wind blades at Deidara. His clawed hands raked against the air. 5 blades of wind soared across the sky at Deidara, but his clay bird went into a sudden barrel roll and avoided all of his attacks. "Is that all you can do?" asked Deidara, crowing with laughter. "If this is all the vaunted Jinchuriki has, then it doesn't look like I have much to worry about. This man is taunting you." "Yes, he is." More bombs fell. Naruto destroyed them before they could reach him. Something vicious bubbled beneath the surface of his skin. "Don't you hate that?" "I do." Unleashing a bigger jutsu, Naruto created a ball of wind in his hand. He compressed the wind further. The sphere, which had been about the size of his head, soon became half the size of his palm. With an action that was as violent as it was angry, Naruto hurled the wind sphere at Deidara, who had no time to dodge as it raced to them. The wind sphere struck the clay bird on the left side, tearing apart its wing as though it was made of paper, and then exploding to destroy even more of the bird. Deidara leapt away from it before he could be engulfed by the explosion. As the winds tore at Naruto's hair and clothing, he tracked the falling shinobi, his lips twisting as the red haze that had fallen over his eyes darkened to the color of blood. Then kill him. Make him suffer. Tear him limb from limb. Tear him apart. Kill him. Naruto placed his hands behind him, channeled wind chakra through them, and used the resulting propulsion to send him flying upwards. He soared straight at Deidara, who saw him and tossed several balls of clay. He formed a hand seal. The clay turned into birds that flapped their wings and shot at him. Naruto didn't even bother dodging or destroying them. Chakra poured from Naruto's pores in quantities so vast that his body became surrounded in purple flame. The bird slammed into him and exploded. Nothing happened. Naruto burst through the explosions with no injuries. Deidara had only a moment to be surprised before Naruto, tearing at the airspace with his claws, unleashed a powerful series of wind blades that tore into Deidara's body only for that body to turn into clay and explode. Naruto howled in outrage. He landed on the nearest root and sniffed the air, trying to track the scent of his prey. They smelled like clay. It should have been easy, but there was so much clay scattered around this place now that he couldn't find the scent. Glaring into space, he channeled chakra into his eyes. Colors faded as his ability to perceive the world changed. Every living creature around him, be they plants or animals, suddenly appeared green. Meanwhile, kilometers away, 4 large orange spots signified where Sakura and the others were still fighting against Sasori. There was another orange spot. It was much closer. "You're mine." Naruto didn't waste time in forming a Rasengan and running toward the chakra source. The orange spot leapt away as if to avoid him, but Naruto followed it and slammed the Rasengan into it or tried to. A large blob of orange appeared between them and grabbed his arm. Before Naruto could pull his arm out, it exploded, sending him flying backwards. With smoke wafting from his body, Naruto felt a growl escape his throat as the orange blob ran further away. Was it trying to escape? It was trying to escape. He wouldn't let it. Naruto threw himself into a sprint. The orange blob came closer. Several smaller blobs flew at him, but they exploded against the chakra that cloaked his body. Before the orange blob could move any further, Naruto thrust out his hands, creating 2 large, purple claws, which latched onto the blob. What is this?" The blob screamed as it was lifted into the air. "There was nothing in our information that said you had this much power. What is going on?" The noise coming from this creature was annoying, so Naruto killed it. He clenched his fists, causing the chakra arms to clench as well. The snapping of bones echoed around them as gray fluid gushed from the orange blob in his grip. The orange blob soon lost its color, going from orange to gray. Yes. It was dead. He had killed it, that annoying blob. That annoying. Annoying. As Naruto came down from his high, the world around him suddenly shifted. His chakra vanished, causing his transformation to wear off, and then color returned to the world. The chakra claws he had created were gone, so the corpse of Deidara was lying on the ground, a bloody carcass within an expanding puddle of crimson. Oh. Oh, no. Naruto held a hand to his face and took several calming breaths. With the haze that had once clouded his mind gone, he could remember vividly what he'd been doing. The rage that had filled his heart, the violence he had committed, and the voice that had spoken to him from inside of his soul, of the Naruto that was him but wasn't. He remembered it all. The seal must be weakening. I'll need to let Jiraiya know so he can check on my seal. If the seal was weakening, then that was a bad sign. It meant he was getting free. Naruto's other half. Zakusawiri Naruto made his way to where Kakashi stood around Gaara's body with Temari, Baki, and 3 other Suna shinobi. Temari's loud bawling could be heard from several dozen meters away. As he walked into the clearing, he saw that she had buried her head on Gaara's chest. Slowly, warily, he made his way over to the group of ninja, who parted to let him through. "Temari," he muttered. Tamari's head snapped up at the sound of his voice. She stared at him for several seconds as though unable to comprehend what he was doing there. However, after a moment passed, Tamari stood up, wiped her eyes with the forearm, and then glared at him. "You promised," she muttered harshly. "You promised me that you would rescue Gaara. You said that nothing would stop you from rescuing Gaara. Was all that just a lie? Was your promise so worthless to you that you couldn't even save my brother?" Naruto knew that Temari didn't mean any of this, which was why he didn't say anything back, why he didn't defend himself as she came up and began pounding her fists on his chest. All that rage and anguish had to go somewhere. In which case, it was better for her to let out her feelings there, with him, than it was to go on bottling them up. "I'm sorry," he muttered. Temari leaned her head against his chest. She pounded her fists into him, but they had no strength, and eventually, she let them drop to her sides. Why? Why did it have to be Gaara? Hasn't he suffered enough? That was a question without an answer. There were many people who didn't deserve to suffer, but through no fault of their own, they did anyway. Consequently, there were also many bad people in this world who deserved to suffer but never did. Sometimes good people died. Sometimes evil people prospered. If the world was a place where only the evil suffered, then people like him and Gaara would have never existed. Naruto wrapped his arms around Temari as she cried, pulling her close enough that her sobs were muffled against his chest. This was the scene that Chiho, Sakura, and Tenten came onto. The three of them looked a little worse for wear. Sakura and Tenten were sporting numerous cuts on their arms and legs, which bled quite a bit. Likewise, Tenten's shirt had been torn, revealing a good portion of her side. If he had to guess, she had been injured, but Sakura or Chiho had healed her. On the other hand, Chiho didn't look too bad off. Injury-wise, there was a haggardness about her that hadn't been there before. "Baki," Chiho said. "You all followed us? We managed to convince the council that it was necessary for Suna Shinobi to find the Kazekage ourselves," Baki replied. Still looking at Gaara, he shook his head. "Though we arrived far too late to be of any help." Chiho looked at Gaara's still form, lying on the ground, almost as though he were peacefully sleeping. Sakura was also looking at Gaara with a sense of despondency. Tenten had been looking at him and Temari, but she did eventually look at the Kazekage. Her eyes grew moist. "I see. Yes, I understand. Do not worry. I shall bring Gaara back." Everyone paused at Chiho's words, even Temari, who stopped crying and glanced at the woman as she walked up to Gaara's still form and knelt down. "What do you mean, Lady Chiho?" asked Temari. "I mean just what I said, child," Chiho told the girl as her hands on Gaara's chest were enveloped in a blue light. "I am bringing the Kazekage back using a reincarnation jutsu. It is a jutsu that only I know. However, I can only use it like this once." Baki's eyes widened. "Wait. You aren't talking about Kisho Tensei, are you? What else would I be talking about?" "But that's—" "I am old," Chiho interrupted. "I have lived a long life, been through 2 wars, and seen many horrors. I was forced to battle my own grandson, even, and now, I have been poisoned by that very same grandson. Even if I wanted to live, I am not long for this world." "Lady Chiho," Sakura gasped. "Why didn't you say anything? And worry you needlessly?" Chiho chuckled. "What could you have done? There were only 2 antidotes, and you and Tenten are the ones who needed them the most. The old should not outlive the young." Chiho had not turned away from Gaara, she continued to stare at the place where she had put her hands, at the blue glow engulfing Gaara's chest. The glow was getting weaker, fading. If Naruto had to guess, she did not have enough chakra needed to perform the technique completely. "I want to do this," Chiho continued. "What happened to Gaara is my fault to begin with. It was I who sealed the Shukaku inside of him, I who made him into a weapon. If I had not done that, Gaara would have been able to live a happy life. The least I can do now is correct my mistake." No one could say anything to dissuade her, nor did it seem like they wanted to. Everyone here was a fan of Gaara's. The Suna Shinobi who had come admired and looked up to him. To them, he was a great protector and mentor, someone who would risk his life to save his village. Chiho's breathing grew labored as she continued to use her jutsu. Sweat had formed on her forehead, and there were bags appearing under her eyes, almost as though using this jutsu had aged her. Despite this, she continued feeding chakra into her technique. However, Naruto wasn't sure if it would work, for the light around Gaara's chest continued to fade. Naruto removed Temari from his embrace and walked up to Chiho, placing a hand on her back and sending his chakra into her. Chiho's eyes grew wide. Her back straightened. Turning her head, she stared at him with wide eyes. "Don't just kneel there, looking shocked," he said. "You don't have enough chakra to do this on your own, do you? Well, I've got plenty of chakra to spare, so use as much as you need." "Thank you, Naruto." With a smile now on her face, Chiho turned back to Gaara, using the chakra that Naruto was lending her to increase the power of her jutsu. The blue light that surrounded Gaara's chest regained its former size. Then it grew bigger as Naruto continued feeding it his chakra. "In this world of shinobi, created by bitter old people like myself, it's a great comfort to know that new souls like yourself have come along," Chiho said. "Everything I have done up to this point in my life has been wrong, but at least, here in my final hour, I can finally do something right for a change. Suna and Konoha. I hope the future that awaits them be different from the one in my time." "Don't worry," Naruto said solemnly. "I'll make sure that our future is different from the war-torn era that it's been so far. I'm going to change the shinobi world." When Naruto had first become a Genin, his dream had been to become Hokage. Now that he was immortal, Hokage was out of his reach. Who had ever heard of an immortal Kage anyway? That was why Naruto had changed his goal. If he couldn't become Hokage, then he would become someone even more powerful, a legend whose name went down in history. He would become the ninja who changed the ninja world. All of the pain and suffering that had come about because of stupid people fighting in stupid wars, he would end them. A world without war. Jiraiya's dream. That was what Naruto wanted. Chiho chuckled. "You are a very special child. Your words, your actions. You speak with such conviction that I cannot help but believe you will succeed where so many others have failed." Sakura? Sakura, who'd been standing behind Chiho with a glum expression, shifted as she was called. "Yes? In the future, help those closest to your heart, not one old lady who already has one foot stuck in the grave. You are so much like me. So few women possess such strong spirit. You'll surpass your master as a kunoichi. I have little doubt. Tenten, I know not what ails you, but I can see that you are conflicted by something. I suggest not keeping that bottled up. It will only lead to pain." Tenten seemed shocked. Her eyes widened fractionally, but then her shoulders slumped and a self-deprecating half-smile formed on her lips. "Nothing gets by you, does it? We barely spoke 10 words, yet you already seem to know about my deepest secrets. I am merely so old that I've already been in the position you are now," Chiho said, turning back to Naruto. "I know it's wrong of me, but I have a favor to ask of you, Naruto Uzumaki. Please, look after Gaara. You are the only one who understands his pain, and he understands your pain. You're the only one who I can entrust this task to." Closing his eyes, Naruto said, "You don't need to ask that favor of me. It was already something I've sworn to do." "I am glad to hear that," Chiho said. "With that, I can go in peace." Just like that, Chiho died. As the life faded from her eyes, her body slumped forward, though Naruto caught her before she could fall. He passed her off to Sakura as Temari knelt down next to her brother. Slowly, with a low groan as though coming out of a deep sleep, Gaara opened his eyes. He blinked several times as the light hit them. His pupils were glassy and glazed, the kind of look found on a corpse, but they quickly gained life. He struggled to sit up. Naruto and Temari helped him. "Hey, you okay, Gaara? Feeling kosher? How many fingers am I holding up?" "Shut up, you dolt," Temari said to Naruto as he held up 2 fingers. Gaara wasn't knocked for a loop. He was dead. Those aren't the kind of questions you should be asking. Temari then turned to Gaara. "How are you feeling, Gaara? Are you okay? How many fingers am I holding up?" "Oh, sure. I see how this is," Naruto muttered. "Naruto? Temari?" Gaara muttered. "What's going on here?" Sometime during the reincarnation jutsu, more ninja from Suna had shown up, until the whole clearing had become filled with ninja. Gaara was in the center of this crowd. They circled around him, keeping a bit of distance, though not because they were afraid, well, not afraid of Gaara. Temari had glared daggers at every person who tried getting too close. "Did you rescue me?" asked Gaara. Naruto bit his lip as he shook his head. "I tried to, but I arrived too late. I couldn't save you. The one who saved you was Chiho Oba-san." Gaara turned his head. Several meters away, being held by a tearful Sakura, Chiho sat with slumped shoulders and closed eyes. Even at this distance, it was easy to see that she wasn't breathing. Grunting, Gaara tried to stand up. His knees shook, his face became strained. He almost fell back down. However, Naruto grabbed his arm and helped him to his feet. With Temari beside them, they walked slowly to Sakura and Chiho. Tenten and Kakashi stood behind them, their expressions solemn. "Everyone, pray for Chiho-sama," Gaara said before closing his eyes and bowing his head. One by one, the ninja around them closed their heads, bowed their heads. Naruto followed Gaara's example. As one, whether they were ninja from Konoha or ninja from Suna, the group closed their eyes and prayed to a woman who had given her life to give another person their life back. The setting sun sank slowly behind the mountains. It was late at night, or perhaps early in the morning, and Naruto couldn't sleep. He was lying on the bed inside of the hotel they had been given. Outside of his window, the sounds of Suna's citizens as they partied continued to echo up to him. Naruto had partaken in some of that partying, but after several hours, he had decided to call it a night. He was tired from the rescue mission. His body ached, his eyes were droopy, and he was still concerned by what had happened during his battle with Deidara. The anger he had felt at that time was reminiscent to the anger his other self felt when they fought. He'd need to speak with Jiraiya about this. As Naruto continued staring at the ceiling, a knock sounded at his door. Thinking it was Kakashi, Naruto climbed out of bed and opened the door only to blink when he saw Temari standing in the doorway. "Temari, what can I humph?" Naruto wasn't even given a chance to finish his sentence before she was on him. Her lips claimed as in a kiss so passionate his knees turned to jelly. He felt her small tongue intrude inside of his mouth, warm and wet, her saliva mixing with his as the friction of her tongue sent chills down his spine. Before Naruto knew what was happening, he was lying on the bed, Temari straddling his waist as she continued to lock lips with him. Her hands had already worked their way under his shirt. Fingers pinched his nipples. It felt weird. Not bad. Just weird. Just as Naruto was about to succumb to Temari's sudden attack, he regained his senses. Wait. Temari, hold on. Temari stopped, frowned, and sat up. She was straddling his waist. Her thighs felt like heaven against his hips. "What's wrong? Why are you? What brought this one?" asked Naruto. It's to thank you," Temari said. Naruto looked away. "You know that I didn't do this to receive gratitude. Gaara is my friend." "I know." Temari smiled as she leaned down and planted a kiss on her cheek. "But even though you didn't rescue my little brother for such a petty reason, I still want to give you my thanks." At her words, Naruto relaxed and placed his hands on her hips. So long as it was a decision that she had made herself, he would not contest her. As long as this was what she wanted, he would never deny her. Naruto had decided that if he was going to live forever, then at the very least, he could do everything in his power to make the people he loved, the ones who would eventually leave him behind, as happy as possible. As Temari leaned down to claim his lips in a kiss that was much more tender than before, Naruto lost himself to the feelings and warmth that was Temari's sabaku. Tenten wandered down the halls of the hotel. She was on her way to see Naruto. Now that this mission was over, and with Chiho's words still ringing in her ears, she had finally decided that it was time she sat down and seriously spoke with Naruto. The party was still going on outside, Sakura and Kakashi were still out there. Both of them were awfully popular. It seemed people had learned that Sakura was the one responsible for saving Kankuro. Meanwhile, Kakashi was popular with the ladies, who apparently wanted to see what was underneath his mask. This mission had shown Tenten that she still had a long way to go. Throughout the whole thing, she hadn't contributed to the mission in any significant way. When Kankuro had been poisoned, it was Sakura who healed him. During the battle with Kisame, she had been told to leave. Naruto hadn't let her fight beside him against Deidara, and the one who defeated Sasori had been Sakura, not her. "I need to get even stronger." The biggest problem was that she didn't know how else she could get stronger. Her kunai/shuriken throwing was already 10 for 10. It wasn't possible to have an accuracy rate that was any better. On a side note, her parents must have been seers to name her Tenten. Of course, Tenten was also well versed in close-range weaponry. She could use swords, spears, naginata, nunchaku, and many other weapons with the same proficiency as an expert, but she wanted to become even stronger. She didn't want to remain the girl who could only provide backup. As she reached the hall that had Naruto's room, a loud noise caused her to freeze. It was a moan that echoed down the hall. Sensual. Sexual. Hot enough to make her blood boil. She didn't know who had made that noise, but Tenten's face felt like it was going to combust from just hearing it. Ignore it, Tenten. Just ignore it. Pretend it doesn't exist. However, she couldn't ignore it. The closer she got to Naruto's room, the louder it became. That could mean. It couldn't mean. Could it? The door to Naruto's room was ajar, and the noises were coming from inside. Tenten's breathing became stilted. She crept up to the door, opened it a crack more, and peered inside. Her heart stopped. Naruto and Temari were having sex. They were lying on one of the two beds, naked, and joined at the hip. Even as she stared, Naruto was thrust himself inside of Temari, who had wrapped her arms and legs around him, crying out, urging him on with her voice and words. Before she could get too caught up in what she was seeing, Tenten jerked back and clamped a hand over her mouth. Tears sprang to her eyes as her tongue became lodged in her throat. Her heart felt like it had dropped into her feet, which became heavier than Rock Lee's leg weights. Unable to remain in that place for any longer, Tenten ran away from Naruto's room and the moans that were coming from it. It was early the next morning. The sun was still in the process of rising. Naruto stood before the gates to Suna alongside Kakashi, Sakura, and Tenten. Seeing them off was Gaara, Temari, Kankuro, and Baki. Naruto had woken up that morning to discover Kakashi giggling at him from his bed. It had taken him a moment to realize what the Jonin was giggling about, but then he remembered that Temari had sex with him the previous night, and she had still been in his bed when he woke up. Kakashi had not let him off the hook. After Temari had left, the Jonin had grilled him on the details of their relationship. Actually, the copy ninja had really just wanted the juicy bits of his sex life. Naruto had dealt him 1,000 years of death. While Kakashi had yet to stop staring at him with knowing smirks, Tenten strictly avoided his gaze. Every time he felt her eyes on him, he would look her way, only to discover her looking at something else. She'd occasionally glance at him from the corner of her eye. However, she'd quickly look away, a conflicted expression crossing her face. I'm not sure what's going on with her, but I should probably find some time to sit down and talk. That would have to wait until after they went back in Konoha, filed their mission report, and informed the Hokage of what happened via a verbal report. Since Naruto had been placed in charge of this mission, that was his task. Are you sure you don't want to stay for a while longer to recuperate? Asked Gaara. Despite having a tailed beast pulled out of him, he looked fairly hale. Naruto chalked that up to Chihi's sacrificial reincarnation jutsu. Yeah, Naruto began. We've already spent a night here when we should have headed out. We need to deliver our report to Tsunade-sama, Sakura added. Speaking of, I have already sent a preliminary report with Takamaru, Baki said. I appreciate that, Naruto said, nodding at Baki before turning back to Gaara. Anyway, I'll see you around. Maybe I'll be sent here during the Chunin exams and you and I can grab a drink. I would like that, Gaara said. Gaara held out his hand, and Naruto, grinning like a loon, accepted the hand, shaking it firmly. Behind him, Kakashi smiled while Sakura looked on with a warm smile of her own. Tenten still seemed to be ignoring him, but even she seemed warmed by the friendship they were displaying. The group was preparing to leave. However, just as Naruto had turned around, Temari called out to him. Naruto. Naruto turned around. Yes, mile per hour. Temari grabbed him by his jacket and pulled him into a searing kiss. She pulled away before he could actually respond, taking several steps back and winking at him. That was a good luck kiss for your journey home, she told him, winking. Hey! If you say so, Naruto replied. I think it's just so you have something to remember me by on those lonely nights without me. You wish. Everyone around them were staring at him and Temari with varying expression. While Gaara appeared relatively calm about the display of affection, Kankuro looked ready to shit a brick, and Baki was rubbing his eyes as though trying to figure out if what he saw was real or a genjutsu. On the other hand, Kakashi was giggling perversely, Sakura's eyes had bulged from their sockets, and Tenten? She looked away with a grimace. Naruto narrowed his eyes. I see. So that's the problem. Yes, he really did need to speak with Tenten soon. After the shenanigans brought about by Temari's kiss, the 4 Konoha ninja who formed Team Naruto left, traveling through the desert as quickly as they could. While there was no need to rush anymore, no one wanted to remain in that desert longer than necessary. I had no idea my pupil was such a lady killer, Kakashi giggled. Can it, sensei? There's gonna be quite a few girls in Konoha who will be disappointed. Are you planning to tease me the whole way there? Only until we reach Konoha. Naruto could only sigh. Life as a shinobi of Konoha was fraught with all kinds of peril. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.